Hey, it's TDA and welcome to Plan B Terraform. Other than a brilliant name, Terraform is actually quite a fun game. I'm gonna call it Terraform because the whole name is way too long. As you can see on the screen, it is coming out in sometime later this year. I'm actually not entirely sure about the date, but if you want to try it out for yourself, the demo is still available for the next week or so by the time you'll see this. So, feel free to give it a spin. Basically, Plan B Terraform, and I said it completely anyway, is a city builder game that combines a couple of the things I really enjoy about these types of games. It has a lot of logistics planning, it has a lot of factory building, and it also has terraforming. So I always really enjoy it in a game where you get to turn a barren world into a lush environment, kind of like you can see on this starting screen now. The demo is fairly short, so you can play through it in like an hour or so, and I'm just going to showcase you what it is and kind of gives you a first look into the first stages of the game. Doesn't go that far, but I think it's quite nicely done. It has some nice animations, and yeah, check it out if you find it interesting. Your company has been mandated to manage the resources of this newly discovered planet. You must bring supplies to the cities and manage terraforming projects. Good luck! Oh, that's encouraging. I almost get Dyson Sphere program flashbacks when we see us flying to this little planet over here. But yeah, we are basically going to start out on this barren planet with some initial settlements on top of it. You can see New Chicago over here. We have New Mumbai over here, and we have New Shanghai. Actually, I kind of like this location. We have a lot of room to build here. Let me see. We're going to need some different resources. I think we should actually be able to get a long way around New Shanghai. So we're going to need to find ourselves some iron, and that is the red stuff you see on the map. So you can zoom in and out. It has a fairly simple style of graphics, but I think it's functional. And we are basically going to have to build some machines. We can build extractors, we can build factories, and we can build assembly plants. And of course, we'll get more and more access to different machines later on, but this is what you start out with. You also get some access to transports. Extractors basically mine stuff, so we're going to be placing a couple of those. And there we go. And they won't actually be able to give us any resources unless we have a depot. So we're going to put that over here, and then we're going to assign iron to this. I might actually be going faster than the tutorial can keep up with, but I have done this before, so bear with me. Okay, so didn't we actually get something to do? Let's see, what are we supposed to do? Extractors on iron, then we turn the iron into steel, and then we build new extractors in an assembly plant, so automation. And we all like some automation on this channel. So we're going to build a factory, and this is automatically transporting everything from the depot into the factory. You can't actually do it directly for some reason. And it's automatically set to steel bar production, but of course there's going to be different things that we can produce later on. Now we are going to be setting down another depot, and this is going to be giving the steel bars some place to go. And of course we do want to make sure we can actually transform these items into something, and there we go. So now we have an assembly plant that is making extractors. And well, this is pretty much how this game works. You build some some miners, you process them into higher tiers of items. Now of course the initial start is really simple, but basically you instantly start up by or set up a hub. All these buildings that are completed in here will automatically be added to your inventory over here. You can also increase the speed, which I always really enjoy in games like this. And that will just make the production speed bearable. Now, if you look at the production rates, of course, there is something to do about making sure you have a kind of like perfect inputs and outputs. So this is producing 15 per year. It's annual production. And the factories are producing 30 per year, but they also take 3 times as much. So basically this is using 90. So I currently have, what is this, a 75. So this is not actually completely supplying a factory. I would have to have basically 2 depots with 4 each, and that should supply. So you could actually set it up something like... you can actually build over the resources if that's what you want to do. So for example, something like this. And set out a factory over here. And let's make sure we have this set to iron production and more iron production. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay. We can now actually produce some more complicated stuff, but I was busy. So we have 45. This is actually one too many already. So this would be a perfect ratioed steel bar production. And then of course we do need that depot over here with the steel in it. Steel. And this is going to be fully supplying us with steel. Now we can just leave this alone. This is going to produce all the extractors we're going to need. And now we're going to have to set something to be produced more complicated. So we are going to need some mechanical parts. And that will allow us to apparently unlock. We also unlocked the factory and the assembly plant, which we already had, but I guess that means that we can produce them now. So let's check that out. No, actually, I didn't want to do that, so let's remove that. It will actually get added back into your inventory, so you don't have to worry about wasting it. I've made that mistake before. Okay, so we can turn steel bars into mechanical parts. And then once again, we are going to need another depot. And then we are going to need an assembly plant. And this one is going to be producing what? I guess more factories or more assembly plants. And let's see, what else do we need? We should probably build another assembly plant here as well. Oh, we shouldn't forget to actually set this to mechanical parts, because otherwise it won't work, as you can see. And now we are going to be producing some factories. I'm actually going to switch it for a moment to assembly plants, because we're going to need at least one more of those as well. And what we can actually do, this is going to be producing finished products, because we are currently, I think, out of depots as well. So let's just set that one up over here, and then we are going to set this up. This is just steel bars, yep. So now this production is going to be split between these two machines. We already have 13 extractors, so that's not a big problem if we're going to take a little bit away from that and build some depots instead. We're not going to need a huge amount of either. Well, we are going to need quite a bit of depots at some point, because you need them pretty much for every stage. But yeah, this is kind of the basics of the game. Now, we haven't actually done anything to improve our cities, but we are basically working towards getting some more complicated resources and machines in order to supply this city over here. Where is it? Over here. And yes, this is going to be turning into a city at some point. With more complex materials in order for our colonists to survive. But they are not going to expand before they get access to resources. And that seems like a very wise decision. Now I am producing these assembly plants, but we are also going to need some factories. There we go. Now you can go and make a completely tuned setup for this, but honestly I think in the early game there's no need to do this. Mainly because we are currently producing more than we can manage anyway. So you can see, for example, over here we're kind of bottlenecked in terms of the steel bar production and turning it into mechanical resources. It's a 1-to-1. This is producing 30 per year, and I think this should be as well. So basically we are using the steel bars as fast as we can produce them. So this surplus here should always be there, unless of course we run out of resources from our mining installation over here, because these resources do run out. As you can see, we have, for example, 428 in this specific node. Then again, we have quite a lot of it. At least that's how it feels in the early game. I'm guessing that as you keep playing far beyond the level of the demo, you are going to run into some supply issues potentially, and I have no idea how the game is going to solve that later on. But then again, you do have a lot of these resources all around the planet, so there's probably going to be a lot of fun in tapping into new areas once this runs out and getting those whole supply lines back up and running and things like that. But yeah, anyway, what is the next thing we should be doing? We need to build 5 factories. So I guess what we can do is we can just set up a new line. I kind of like this whole perfect ratio setup that we have over here. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we can set up these two over here once again. We can set them to iron. We can actually duplicate this. We do it like that. Yeah, that's nice. Okay. I was thinking about having to do this manually every single time, and that didn't seem like a very good idea to me. Are we actually making any factories over here? It seems like you're prioritizing this one. We both make factories. We have 18 assembly plants. I think we'll be fine with that for now. Okay. So like this, and then well, actually, then maybe let's set up another factory over here to make some of our mechanical parts. And maybe we can do this. We can copy this. We can copy this. Oh, that's actually really convenient. Oh, that's not what I want to do. It's really convenient that you can copy paste that straight away. This makes it very easy to kind of replicate setups that you've already done. I think this is set wrong, so there we go. And then this is going to be this. Yeah, so we are now going to be producing factories over there and then assembly plants over here, so we have one of each. And that covers all the basic buildings. Now, what's the next step? We are going to be building supply centers in order to make our city grow, and in order to do that, we're also going to need some concrete. We are going to be building roads, road stops, and trucks, and this is really where the game starts to unlock. So let's see, I'm going to go through this pretty fast because this is not a complicated game in the early stages, so if you think I'm going too fast, let me know in the comments. I can kind of moderate that for future reference. But for now, let's set up 3 of these. I actually don't know if these are going to be the same ratios, but I'm just assuming that they are. We are going to need sulfur, by the way. This is sulfur, and this is going to be used to make concrete. Now, does that make sense? I actually don't know. Let me know in the comments. Do you actually make concrete from sulfur? I should probably know this, having played dozens of games that's not what I want to do. Dozens of games where you use concrete, but I can't remember it ever being made from sulfur. So either that's a very good thing or a very weird thing about this game. But let's see. Let's make us some concrete from sulfur. There we go. And of course, once again, we are going to need a platform in order to store all of that. No, this is not going to be sulfur. This is going to be concrete. There we go. And let's see about the ratios. This is again 90. This is also producing at 15. Yeah, so you actually use the same layout for an optimized concrete production facility, I suppose. Now what else? We are going to need some supply centers. And supposedly we have trucks unlocked, or is this what we're going to unlock now? I'm actually not sure. Well, well, we have access to roads here, but we need to make them from concrete. Okay, so let's see. Let's make, I guess, an assembly plant or two. And then let's start building a supply center. We're not going to need too many of those, I think. We are probably going to need a lot of roads. Why are we not making... Okay, so apparently we're... So for some reason it's not really balancing between these two, because we have tons of depots now, and I don't feel like we're making as many extractors. That might be due to the amount of resources. No, it's about 50-50. So let's just set this to, let's not remove it, but let's just set it to extractors. So we're making a little bit more of that, just to make sure we keep them coming in. Okay, but anyway, we are now making some roads, we are making supply depots. We already have 5, that's probably way more than we're going to need. So let's make sure we have a road stop as well, because road stops are basically the truck stations that you have in Satisfactory. So this is the endpoints of your line, and the roads is just what, of course, the trucks will use to drive over, but you need to connect them to the truck stops, basically. We're also going to need some trucks, and we are going to need mechanical parts for that. So what we can actually do maybe is replicate another one of these setups. Can we like rotate the camera? And I realized this is probably the first thing that they explained to me, and then I kind of skipped it. It doesn't matter. Let's see. That's 3. That's another 3. I'm just going to go replicate one of these facilities once again. So this is steel bars, yes. I should probably have done it like this. That would have been a lot more efficient. TDA. There we go. Then we have one of those. Then we have those. Then we have one of those. And then we have those. We can make it a little bit more compact. We don't actually want more factories. But we want trucks. There we go. And that should do it. We are now producing a steady supply of extractors as well. That should be fine. And we have more factories and assembly plants than we probably know what to do with. So we could actually switch this to something like trucks. That's what we want to do. We might as well, because I don't think we are going to need 43 more assembly plants. But yeah, you can see it's very easy to automate things. You can really scale things up quite quickly, assuming that you build the correct things in the correct order, of course. And that makes life easy. Now let's see, we have a supply center over here. And we need to find our town, because the supply center actually needs to be right next to the town. So for example, over here. Now when we click on it, it requires us to make some concrete or bring some concrete to it. So in order to do that, we are going to need a stop over here. And we are going to actually need to supply it with concrete. So let's see. We can actually build a separate... We actually have concrete quite nearby from the town. So let's just make a dedicated concrete facility for that. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Some more depots, like this, and of course we need to make sure this is set to solver. Copy paste. Another factory. You get the gist of this by now, I suppose. And then something for that to actually go to. So this is going to be concrete, and then we set a stop next to that, and then we can draw a nice little line all the way, all the way to the station. Now the way we actually get our trucks to drive there is we can either set this as an origin or a destination. Let's see, we can set a destination, and this is really handy, and I actually think this was updated today, because initially when I was playing the demo it just set destination, so you always had to do it from the start to the end. Because you now have the origin and destination, you can either do it from the end to the start or from the start to the end. Which is a lot more convenient, honestly, than doing it the same time all the time, the same way all the time. And there we go. We have a little truck. It's really fast. Let me slow you down. Let me slow you down so you can actually see the truck. So there's concrete on top of it, and it will deposit that over here, and then we are supplying our town with some concrete. Now, in order to speed this a little bit up, we can actually add more trucks to this, and because we apparently already have 32 trucks in production, we can add pretty much as many trucks as we want to this line, and there we go. Now we have a whole route of trucks delivering concrete to our town. Now let's speed that up a little bit and see why are you... Oh, actually we do need to make sure we have a depot once again. I keep forgetting that. I always keep thinking it drops it right into the supply center, but it doesn't, as you can see. Now you can see that we now have a good supply, and our town should start to grow as a result of that. So we're going to add some population. Let me see if we can actually see that. So we have a population of 4 now, population of 5, and there you go. We can now see buildings popping up. And basically the town will grow randomly. It does seem to prioritize growing like in this direction, away from the supply center, so you don't get into a situation where your entire supply line is basically stuck in between buildings, because that would make it horrible to add more complex materials to it, because the supply center is actually going to require more and more stuff. For example, like it says over here, bigger cities require new resources. And in order to get to 100 population, we are going to need to supply it with some O2 and some water and stuff like that, as well as aluminium. So let's see. I think, yeah, like you can see, because the town basically grew now, we have not just concrete in terms of the supply demand, we also have O2. Now, in order to make O2, we are going to need an atmospheric extractor that is basically free production, assuming we have actually built one. And that's going to allow us to get some oxygen and carbon from the atmosphere, or dioxygen, I should say. And yeah, we are going to need to make this from mechanical parts and aluminium bars. So that's combining two items together, and I think we actually have aluminium quite conveniently close. So I intentionally picked this location because we have all the starting materials right next door. There's actually something else over here as well. What's this? Fluorite. Anyway, yeah, so we have all the starting materials next door, so sulfur, iron, as well as aluminium. But if you have a differently generated map, you might have to bring it in from a more remote location, or, well, basically figure out how you're going to get the supply that you need. So let's see. Let's set up another row of these. I'm actually just assuming that these produce at the same rate, but I haven't actually checked that, so let me see. It's at least the base production is the same. And then we're going to have to transform this into... what are these called? Just aluminium bars, okay. That's pretty straightforward. Let's make sure we have somewhere to put that. That should work. And is that all we needed? Yes, so aluminium bars and mechanical parts for the atmospheric extractor. And let's see, so we could actually just set up a new line of production for that as well. We are still producing all these buildings, and as you can see, we are now rapidly using a pretty decent chunk of our supply in terms of extractors. You should really get used to automating this. Copy paste is really convenient. So this is the mechanical parts. And then how are we actually going to do this? Well, no need to overcomplicate it, I suppose. We could just build a assembly plant over here. And then say, let's build these extractors. And then we are going to have to bring some stuff to you, specifically the mechanical parts. There we go. Now we have a nice little road. We can set the destination over here. And what are we going to be bringing from here? We are going to be bringing the mechanical parts. There we go. And we have 146 trucks. That might be a little bit overkill, I'm not entirely sure, but there's no such thing as having too much product. And again, I forgot the depot. There we go. And mechanical parts. There we go. Now we don't actually need a depot for the finished parts. That's really convenient, so no stacks of buildings in the middle of nowhere. And now we have those extractors up and running as well. So we are going to be able to directly put those next to the city. You don't need to do that, but you can. And as you can see, we are supplying more concrete to the city than we need. There's actually a bit of a traffic jam over there. So let's set up another depot. Depot. I'm not entirely sure. You guys in the comments probably will correct me if I'm saying this wrong. And let's set this to receive O2. And we can actually set this other one on the other side to produce, get the carbon. I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do with the carbon. So I don't think we have a use for that at the moment just yet. But we do now have a use for the O2. So as you can see, the city just started growing again. We're adding some wind power. Oh, the noise is really loud. Apologies for that. The sound seems a little bit out of control. I actually have it set to, I think, 5% of the total volume, and it's still quite loud, so apologies for that. Not much I can do without completely turning the sound off. That would be a little bit boring. The music is actually quite nice. The sound effects themselves are a little on the loud side, though. Okay, so we have everything coming in. Where can we actually see the... Oh, there we go. 36, 37 population and growing. Now you could actually go to the other cities at the same time and kind of replicate this entire process there as well. And right now we have 3 cities on this planet, so that's really easy to do. As you can see, we are not currently doing any sort of terraforming or anything like that. The way I imagine the story is going to be, if there's going to be any story whatsoever, Plan A was probably something like live on Earth and live on our actual planet where we grew up on. And Plan B was, well, we kind of messed up our Earth. Let's just terraform a new one instead. And this is just making sure that our people can actually live on our planet. You can see the name of the city turned yellow now, so that means the city is actively growing, and the other ones are still white, so that means they are stagnated. We have now reached 114 people in our city already. We unlocked, as you can see, a lot more complicated stuff. So polymers that you will need carbon and plastic waste for, reinforced concrete where we need some more of the stuff that we already have. We're also going to need some more polymer bars to turn into high-tech parts. We'll get a Mark II depot. Basically, this is where the game really starts to take off. So I'm a little bit disappointed that the demo is this short, although it does do quite a good job, I guess, at least in showing you the basics on how the game would work. This is a pretty short demo, like I said. But it does seem very promising. I kind of like the flow of the gameplay. I really like how these little trucks are driving around and how you can kind of figure out how to combine the different streams. It's not as complicated, maybe, at least it doesn't feel as complicated as games like Dyson Sphere or Satisfactory. But having some light factory building in your repertoire every now and then can be, I think, really relaxing. So I'm looking forward to trying the full version. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this game, Plan B Terraform. If you're still here, you're awesome. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hope to catch you in the next one.